Bakom alla de här människorna så finns en alldeles fantastisk motorcykel som är BMWs nya designstudie. Och mannen som står där och pekar och visar och berättar om motorcykeln, det är chefen för BMWs motorcykeldesign. Men det som är riktigt kul, om ni frågar mig, det är att den här motorcykeln, den har Svenskar varit med och byggt.
So what you see here is the concept R18, which is our concept bike for a big cruiser. Yeah, the basic idea is, we are pretty well known for our performance bikes, but there is a big chunk of bikes we are not in the segment of big cruisers, obviously. And this is something we wanted to check out if we can achieve something here. And this is the concept for it. And yeah, it's a basically an interpretation of a big cruiser based on BMW DNA.
When you went about building the big bobber, sort of, how did you go about bringing the BMW DNA into sort of an American tradition?
When we started this project, we said if we're going to do this, we definitely will not copy anything out there. We have to do it in our own DNA. So what we did, we took a brief look, or an intense look, into our history, because I think we have a huge history, and we never really used it too much. So we need to change this, definitely. Times are right for this. So what we did is, you see the R5 over there. So the R5 is, and there is many more bikes, but the R5 is kind of a hero bike for this era. And what we did is we kind of condensed the BMW DNA and transferred it into the modern times on this concept bike. So you find a lot of design cues from the old bike transferred into the new bike. Like this typical, most of all, foremost, the big engine. I mean, it's this typical BMW boxer engine. I like to say it's the mother of all boxer engines here, and it's a mechanical masterpiece. First of all, that's the core of the bike. And then this typical triangular frame, the typical teardrop shape tank, as we find in many BMWs. The black color, of course, with a white double pinstripe. Chef drive, lots of smaller details, but it's basically exactly the DNA of the old BMWs turned into the new bike.
I have to ask you about the boxer engine, because when I posted this on Instagram, it was a rave, and I would say that it's 70-30 between lovers and haters of the boxer engine. The lovers are obvious. The haters say, oh, it's too big and it's, it looks strange and all of that. Have you heard that before?
Yeah, of course we heard it. I mean, I have to be honest. When we first time we saw a printout of the virtual engine, I mean, it's huge. Yeah, that thing's it's a statement. But on the other side, nowadays we are used to bikes are getting bigger. They are, in the meantime, pretty big compared to these old bikes. I mean, the R5 is 500 cc, it's 24 horsepower. That's not what it can compete today, obviously. So I think it's definitely okay if you get a little bit used to it. But the boxer engine has a big advantage also. To me, I love to talk about this romantic for emotional bikes, this romantic for mechanics. Mechanics is a part of the, let's say, luxury of the future. And so this is a very unique engine. It has a big stance. I mean, it's a BMW. I mean, a BMW as an emotional bike, it just got to have a boxer engine. What is very important also on the bike is that you have this very super clean look. This bike is all about, I like to say, it's about the look, the feel, and the sound. And the bike is very clean. From this point of view, it's a very modern bike. Even it might look a bit retro-ish. It's a very modern bike, because like my Swedish friend Ola used to say, it's very difficult, or it's very easy to make things complicated nowadays, and it's super difficult to keep things simple. And this is probably one of the biggest achievements on this bike, that you don't see any harness, you don't see any cables, any black boxes, any sensors stuff. this is super difficult to achieve nowadays. It's easy to make to have a full fat bike. You don't see all this stuff, but on a bike like this, it's really a tough job.
Yeah, and now you were talking about your friend Ola. Ola has departed from BMW, but you still work with Swedes. Another mutual friend of ours, Ronna, has been in on this build. Tell me, why do you choose to work with the Swedes up there in the north?
Because the Swedes are just experts on this thing, you know. Ronna we know for some time, and he's a super expert on this thing. We love to work with him, and I mean he gave a lot of input on this bike. We are super happy to have him on board, and we are super happy on the result. And also I have to give big credits to Ola. I mean he was part of this initial phase here, and he, I mean again, lots of thanks to Ola also.
And then lastly, I have to ask you, because you're one of the few persons in the world who actually have ridden this bike. Tell me about the feeling.
It's super cool. I mean, unfortunately, it's not really street legal, this one, but nevertheless, we rode it quite a bit. I mean, the power is really very nice. I'm not allowed to talk about specs and numbers, but I would say it's definitely, what is the word, able to compete with competition, and it's super nice. I mean, it still has these BMW typical or these boxer typical reactions, but it's not like negative. I would like to call it's a character thing, and this is definitely something that bike needs to have.
And do you know if it will go into production, and if so, when?
Again, I'm not allowed to talk about this thing, but my boss yesterday announced that this will be, we will see a production bike by second half of next year. And yeah, I look forward.